Good morning. We are so excited to have all of you with us today. We are excited about the topic that we're talking about. Who doesn't love to talk about Christmas in July? I, from just working in pregnancy centers for many years, always had it in the back of my mind that I would do this, and I would plan well and start thinking about year end in November and December. And I know it's a challenge as you're going into the fall. So we hope that today is a blessing and an encouragement as you listen to what we share. I want to welcome Marcy, who is our content marketing director from Choose Life. For those of you who are clients of ours, I'm sure in some way you have worked and been blessed by Marcy and her team as they create all the content that we put out. So Marcy, we're excited to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be here today. Excited to share.
Thank you. And before we start, I'm just going to open in a quick prayer, and then we will move on to the topic at hand. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to meet with each of these centers. We thank you for those who are here and for those who will be joining us later as they watch the recorded version. And I just thank you for the opportunity that you have given each one of us as you have called us to partner with you around the issue of the sanctity of life and serving moms and babies. Lord, it is such an honor for us to partner with centers. I pray that today's topic is a blessing to them. And I just thank you, God, for this opportunity. We give you this webinar. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So today we'll be talking about how to craft the perfect year-end campaign. And there's different elements to that campaign that we're going to be going over here. We called it Christmas in July because really all of this happens in the holiday season as we lead up to Christmas. And while it does feel a little bit early to be talking about this when temps outside are 80 and 90 degrees, depending on where you live, starting now is going to allow you to plan all the key components to make sure that your campaign is ready, that it's concise, that it works together, and that you have all the elements when you're ready to implement it. As you know, and as I mentioned, year end is such a busy time at your center, especially with donor things and events. You may be hosting open houses or you may have late banquets. But planning early is going to enable you to not only have the greatest impact, but it will take away stress so you can enjoy the holiday too when you're not working. And here's what we'll be covering today. Why email campaigns matter. This is something that a lot of you ask us about when we talk with you on the phone. If you ask if we do this for centers, how to most effectively do it, does it make a difference? We'll be talking a little bit about that today. And then all the elements that make successful email campaigns run and run well. And then we'll be tying in how to incorporate social media into your campaign. So it's all a coordinated strategy to make your campaigns most effective. And we'll also be talking a little bit about things like Giving Tuesday, whether that's effective, should you be doing print materials, handwritten letters, all of that. So I will turn this over to Marcy as she starts sharing about why emails matter.
Yeah, let's talk about emails. I love emails. I've been doing email marketing for a while now and love getting to help so many of you with your campaigns through email. So a few reasons why emails matter. They really do help connect your donors to the mission of your pregnancy center. A lot of your donors also support a number of other causes. They have a lot of things they care about. They have busy lives. And so seeing those emails come through to their inbox is just a reminder of their supporting your mission, why it matters, and why they're connected to you in the first place. Emails are also a great way to show the impact of your pregnancy center on women in your community. So you're able to talk about lives saved, share stories, and just show the impact that your center is not just having on individual lives, but how it's impacting the community as a whole because of the work you're doing. The reason we do emails at the end of the year is because they are a good fundraising tool for you, helping you set your next year budget, helping you plan for the future, any new initiatives that you want to roll out. Maybe you're wanting to go medical and add ultrasound or STD testing. All of the fundraising that happens at the end of the year obviously helps you budget for the following year. And then finally, they allow you to tell stories, share information, share statistics that maybe you're not able to share on social media or through other venues. It's just a personalized story or piece of information from you that you can share straight to their inbox, where there's less distraction when people are reading emails. I'm sure you all know, like when we're scrolling through social media, there's a million other things we can be looking at. And email is still one of those places where you can kind of stay focused on what's right in front of you, especially if you are able, as the sender of the email, to share a compelling story. You can hold people's attention that way. So emails really are an effective way to just connect with your donors at the end of the year and make an impact on the work you're doing in the following years. So now we want to talk about elements of successful campaigns. So different things that you want to include in your emails, in your direct mail, in social media, things like that. But specifically with your emails, one of the primary things you'll want to share are client stories. This is important because donors are already connected to your mission and the concept and idea of what you do. They support you because they're pro-life, because they don't want women to have to suffer the devastating impact of abortion. They want to save lives. But when you're able to tell stories, you're able to connect them even that much more to your mission by putting names, sometimes faces, to the work that they're funding. It helps connect people's hearts more closely to your mission when you're able to share stories. And then if you're also able to share the after stories, so the story of a woman after she visits your pregnancy center all the way through birth, if she stays a part of your programs, that's really awesome. Just so people get that big picture, but also individualized portrait of what's going on at your center. They know about the different programs that you offer and services you provide, but when they can see a name and see a picture, they're that much more connected to the heart of your ministry and to the women in your community and their community.
We really encourage you to be willing to share center statistics. Statistics are going to help your donors see the impact of their giving. So it makes them feel like they're partnering with you, like they're part of a bigger picture. It shows them just the impact of your mission. It also helps them to understand how their money is contributing to that bigger picture in the community. We used to kind of go back and forth at my center about what kinds of statistics to show. And sometimes you have a year where you have like amazing statistics and you want to show everything. And sometimes you have amazing statistics and some that aren't so awesome. And so I just encourage you to really focus on the highlights, the really strong statistics. Some that we encourage you to use would be the number of lives saved. And I know this can be tricky because a lot of you use a lot of different software to keep track of what does it mean lives saved? Is it somebody that came in and was sitting on the fence? Is it somebody that came in that was determined to have an abortion and change their mind? So just try to hone in on what you define as life saved and be sure to share that. That's the heart of your mission. Ultrasounds given is another powerful statistic to share. So many donors love to support those ultrasounds, knowing they're part of introducing the baby to its mom and dad. And so that's a great one to share. But also if you have additional programs like clients in parenting programs, if you have a fatherhood program, a lot of donors like to know that they are a part of really investing in those dads as well. If you have a post-abortion program, that's an awesome number to share how many people have gone through your program. And then if you have a strong spiritual component to your center that you share the gospel with your clients, I would encourage you to share the number of clients who have been spiritually mentored. And if you know, if those who have come to Christ through your ministry, be sure to share that as well. We also encourage you to set a specific fundraising goal. So I think sometimes centers are worried, how do you know if the number is too big or too little? But when you have a specific dollar amount that needs to be raised, and you do a great job of explaining what the money will help fund, that gives intention to your campaign, and it helps people really decide what they want to give towards it. It helps them see your need. It also serves as a gauge if you're getting close to the end of the year. There might be a donor that sees, you know what, they need a $10,000 gift to really help them make that goal. So we just encourage you to set a goal and use that in everything, not just your emails, but you can use it in printed materials, on phone calls when you call a donor, or in a personal letter. If you're asking for a specific amount, let them know how that's going to contribute to your goal as a whole.
Yep. Another thing you want to keep in mind as you are putting together your year-end campaign is incorporating great design. So you want a consistent look across all the different components of your campaign. So let's say you're going to be sending out an email campaign for 5-6 weeks. You're going to be using social media as part of that. You're going to send out some print pieces, some direct mail. You want all of that to have a consistent look and feel, so that people understand it's part of the same campaign. So it can be your brand colors with a little year-end twist. It can be, add some Christmas elements to that if you want, but people need to recognize when they see it, oh, this is part of this campaign. So it might include some brand elements and some other elements just to kind of set it apart as well. A couple notes on design specifically. Remember that less is more. So overly designed campaigns can come across as impersonal. This is especially important in emails. You don't want something that's so full of color and images and different fonts and font sizes that it just almost looks kind of commercially, or it just comes across more as impersonal versus you sitting down to write an email to your donors to communicate directly with them. So one thing to think about is, how do you manage white space? So one thing is to remember people are likely reading your emails on their phones. So don't write in long paragraphs. I'm an English person, a communications person, so I've had to kind of throw out the 3 to 5 sentence paragraph rule, and just every sentence kind of is its own paragraph now. But this will really help you manage your white space in your emails, help people continue reading the email. I think we've all experienced when we're reading something on our phone or a tablet or even on our computers, if we come across these long, like huge chunks of text, it's just hard to get through that. And so managing white space is all about giving people, people's eyes like room to breathe. That's a weird thing to say maybe, but it just breaks it up so they're able to more easily follow. A lot of people will skim a lot of the content in the email and just latch on to a few key things. So you can utilize bold-faced font, underlining, things like that to really highlight the couple of key ideas you want people to take. And then finally, each email, like I said, you want to come up with your campaign theme, design theme. All of the emails that you write should fall within that, but you want them to still look a little bit different. So you want to swap out your header images on each one so people don't think that they're reading the same email. You just want to switch out a few little elements every email so people can follow along and understand that each email is unique and different, and not feel like they're opening up the same one every time. This leads into another important element of any campaign, and that is specific landing pages. So obviously you're going to be asking people to invest in your pregnancy center and in the work that you're doing. And you may think, well, we already have a donation page on our website. We'll just link to that. Really, the most successful campaigns have specific landing pages, and this is for a couple different reasons. When it's on its own separate page, you can eliminate the header, menu items, you eliminate some of the other elements that might be on your website pages that would distract people. So the number one thing you want for a good landing page is one single call to action, and that's going to be to donate. And when you have your normal donation page, you may have the list of services you offer. You may have a number of different things on that page that would just kind of distract from what you're really asking for in this moment. You can have information on this page about what you're hoping to raise the money for. So like I said earlier, if you're hoping to go medical, or maybe you're already medical and you want to add a different service or a different mentoring program, or you need to bring on new staff. We all know there are dozens of reasons you likely need to raise more money at the end of the year. And so you can list some of those out to really paint a picture of, we're not just asking for money because that's what people do at the end of the year, but here's specifically what that money is going to go towards and what it will allow us to do. If you have a client video, story, like testimonial of how you've helped, this is a great place to put that. Or really any video that you have, an inspirational story or anything like that, this is good to include on the page as well. Again, you want to think of your year-end campaigns as painting a picture, telling a story, showing the impact that people will have when they donate to your pregnancy center. All right, this is probably the most technical thing we'll talk about in the webinar today, and this is email segments. So if you use an email service like MailChimp or Constant Contact, or some of the, almost all of them allow you the ability to segment your emails to different lists. So when you start your campaign, you'll just have all of your donors in one list. And then as the campaign goes along and progresses, you can segment out and send specific emails to different segments based on their activity with your previous email. So each email that you send, so email number 1, you'll want to resend that email to 2 different segments. This will help increase engagement and just increase people's awareness of what you're doing. So the 2 segments you want to focus on are people who didn't open your email. And again, whichever service provider you're using should tell you that information. And then you'll want to send it to people who didn't click the email. So you can see, okay, this number of people opened the email, but maybe they got distracted and they weren't able to click through to the landing page. So you want to resend to both of those groups. And to do that, you'll often just replicate the campaign and then adjust a couple things. So the 2 things you want to look at are changing the subject line. So it looks like a new email that's coming through. This would go to people who didn't open it the first time. And then you also want to change the sender name. So if let's say your first email was sent from the executive director, you might want to have the next email go out from your development director if you have someone on your staff who does that, or maybe a board member that people might be familiar with. It helps to have a person's name attached to it versus just ABC Pregnancy Center. Again, it just helps it feel a little bit more personal. So just keep in mind those different segments you can resend to. People are busy. I know I will receive an email in the morning, and by the end of the day, it's at the very bottom of my inbox because of all the emails that I've gotten. And even if I really wanted to go back and look at it and intended to, I may just forget because it gets buried. So if I get that reminder email, especially from an organization that I love and care about and am passionate about, then I'll be happy to receive that other email as well. So you can change.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
What do we do because we run a lot of these campaigns for centers. I know that people always ask us, like, how do you stand out in the craziness of all of the inundation of Christmas emails that you get in your inbox? So do you have any other tips for subject lines that you might want to share?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you want to keep your subject lines succinct. I know that clickbait is frowned upon and not the best thing to do, but you want to think through what is an original subject line that I can write. Maybe in your email, you're going to be sharing a really impactful client story. And if you have a quote from that story that you're going to share, you can pull a little snippet from that quote and include that as the subject line. So there's a little bit of, you want to go for either something that's kind of funny or something that's intriguing, or you want to leave people hanging a little bit. You can use ellipses at the end just so they're curious, like, oh, what is this email going to be about? Versus like year-end update from your community pregnancy center. You want to stay away from those because people are going to feel like, I don't know that I really need an update. But if they are intrigued by the subject line, if they see that there's going to be a story inside, that will really help increase your open rates. And then again, like the things like the formatting that we talked about, managing the white space will keep people reading. But yeah, that's a great question. All right, let's keep moving along. As you are working on your campaign, and we recommend, depending on when you're able to start, planning these campaigns for 4 weeks up to 6 weeks. During that time, you'll want to incorporate social media as well. So if you have separate social media accounts for your donors that's separate from your client page, that's a great place to further engage your donors. We do recommend having separate accounts, just so on your client page, you can share posts that are going to be engaging for potential clients, whether that's about women's health or other things, your services that you provide. Then on the donor side, you're able to share more of the heart and the mission behind your pregnancy center. So we do recommend that. And if you already have that set up, that's great. That'll be a great place for you to share about your year-end campaign. So like I mentioned earlier with the design elements, you want your social media posts to kind of match whatever your emails are going to look like. So if you're using a specific color theme or a set of images or different elements on those email designs, you can tie those over into your social media designs as well, again, to help people recognize like, oh, I got that email and now I'm seeing this social media post and they're connected. And it's just another reminder. A lot of people, I'm sure, have heard this, but in order to really have your message come across and really sink into the receiver, you have to communicate it 7 different times. People have to hear something 7 times before it sinks in. So incorporating social media is a great way to get some of those repetitive messages in there to help it sink in. You want to post organically on your profile, so Facebook and Instagram. What we mean by organic is just as opposed to running paid ads. We'll talk about paid ads in a little bit, and you definitely can do that, and we'll want to do that as well probably. But just posting stories, updates, goals that you have for your next year, again, putting that vision in front of people. This is what you're funding when you choose to support us. And again, social media is a great place to share those videos specific to your year-end campaign. If you need help with your videos, of course, we're happy to help with that and have some cool ones coming up for the end of the year that we'll be excited to share with you all. So continuing on with social media, in addition to the organic posts like we talked about, you can also run ads. Again, these ads that you run, they can show up in a number of different places on Facebook and Instagram, but the click-through link will go to the same landing page that you created for your email campaign. So that's, again, why you want the visual components to tie across so people aren't confused and they know exactly where they're landing when they go there. And then again, on that landing page, they'll be able to learn more about why you need the money and make a decision to donate. You can target a lookalike audience. So when you're setting up your ads, you can upload your donor email or database, and Facebook can create a lookalike audience based on that. You can also target people who like pages that are similar to yours. Maybe it's other related causes. It doesn't have to be exactly pro-life, but Facebook allows you to get pretty in-depth with the demographics that you can target there. So you can play around with that and create the perfect audience to show your ads to in that way.
Great. Thank you, Marcy. If you need any help, I remember watching webinars like this and thinking, oh my goodness, that's so much more to add to the end of the year. I just want to send a Christmas card or something. Please reach out to us. We can walk you through what it looks like for us to help you with a campaign. We would absolutely be happy to do that. Another thing that we want to mention is that direct mail is not dead. And I feel like there was a season when maybe it didn't have the strength that it once had. But I think as people clean up their mailing lists and really refine and target who they're sending to, it's a really highly effective way to raise money. And we definitely see this with the centers that we work with. There's a lot of centers that maybe send out a newsletter halfway through the year and then kind of a more newslettery direct mail piece at the end of the year. We encourage you to start thinking about it early, hence the reason for this webinar. But I know at my centers, we always aim to have our year-end direct mail piece out. We maybe mailed it like a day or two before Thanksgiving. So it was one of the first in people's mailboxes as they kind of get through Thanksgiving and start thinking about the Christmas season. And then we followed up with other direct mail pieces as well as we got closer to Christmas. So consider just like we mentioned with emails, telling short client stories that have a powerful impact of life's change in this last year. Especially if you have growth or you saw more clients than ever before, really highlight those with your statistics as well. And then I know a lot of you that have done Donor 101 classes, make sure that you're still doing handwritten notes to high capacity donors to thank them for the investment, asking them to give again if you have a dollar amount in mind for them. And Annie, our fundraising expert on staff, would say make sure you call them as well. So just be making that list, even as you're sitting listening to this webinar, people who you think are more of the direct mail people, others who are more, they should be getting a handwritten note for me and a phone call. It doesn't hurt to keep a little piece of paper by your desk to keep down names of people that would be great to call. And you can also ask donors to introduce you to their friends. So as COVID's restrictions have lifted, you're able to go meet people for coffee more often or take them out for lunch. So those are still great pieces to a year-end campaign as well. And make sure in your year-end campaign that you include a direct call to action and ways to give, whether it's online or with a response card. Make sure that you offer all different ways to give. And then a lot of people ask us about, should we incorporate Giving Tuesday into our campaigns? And I think some centers that we see them have super great success, and some centers say Giving Tuesday just isn't for our center. So we have learned from working with a lot of different centers, because we will help with things like social media graphics, and if you want to help with sending out emails around it, we can definitely help with that. But we have seen it be most effective when you have a specific project. So we've seen people use it for, if they're buying a new ultrasound machine and they just have $15,000 more to raise, or makeovers for client counseling rooms. We want to redo our baby boutique, or whatever you call your, where you have clothes for clients, or restocking it, things like that. If you can think of a really specific campaign, for some, it may be, we're $15,000 or $10,000 close to our goal for a mobile unit. And this is a great way to really encourage people to participate and start advertising it early, especially if you're using Facebook to let people know. Start putting your goals out on Facebook before Giving Tuesday, and then really that day have an intentional plan of reminding people, because they will be inundated with things from other people who are asking for money as well.
All right, another question we get that we kind of already hit on is, how long should your campaign last? The short answer is 4 to 6 weeks. Longer answer is it depends on your goal, your needs, and your capacity. So sometimes, like if you have a smaller staff and this responsibility is going to fall on you, you might want to consider a shorter campaign, just so it's fewer weeks that you're having to manage something. A 6-week campaign can be really great because it allows you to share more stories, make more connections, create more touch points, things like that, to really engage with your donors more through the season. But we do recommend anything between 4 and 6 weeks. 6 weeks allows you to create those touch points before Thanksgiving and then carry it through the end of the year. And then the 4-week campaign would likely just be December. If you're wanting to incorporate Giving Tuesday into this campaign, a lot of centers will use it to kind of kickstart their end of year campaign season. You can think about that for the timing as well.
Marcy, I also just want to encourage people. I know we've learned a lot of centers close down around Christmas, just because it might be a light client load, or you just want to give your staff that time. But don't negate the power of that last week of the year. So there's a lot of people who are meeting with their tax attorney or tax accountants and figuring out, especially on the bigger donor end, what to give. There's still a lot of people that like to walk their checks into your doors. So we just encourage you to keep your campaign up after the 25th until the very last day of the year, because there's a lot of people that give that week. And just think about that in terms of staffing. I know with our center, we made sure somebody was there the last few days of the year just to be answering phones and answering doors, because you do get a lot of phone calls as well to see, are you open? Are you still receiving checks? Things like that. So I encourage you not to give up on that last week.
Yeah. Yep. And we would love to be a part of your campaign. Like I said, I love doing email marketing. We work with a great team here of content writers, strategists, designers who would love to sit down and hear your vision for what you would want your year-end campaign to be, and then help bring that to life and to fruition. I know, as we've talked about a couple of technical things today, you may feel a little overwhelmed, wondering like, okay, my plate's already full. How am I going to add this really important year-end campaign? So we'd love to help with that. We love telling stories and being able to share your client stories with your donors through beautiful designs, through strategic emails, and just a strategic campaign in general. So we would love to be a part of that if that would be a blessing for you. We did want to let you know now through August 31st, we're offering up to $200 off of our end of year email and social media packages. So we have a few different levels. On a couple of those, it's $100 off. On a couple, it's $200. So you can reach out to us to find out those details. We're running it through August 31st because we know how crazy it can be if you wait to plan your campaigns up until the last minute. So we want to help you get started early, and would love to just partner with you in this. I know it's really important. It's something that a lot of people feel intimidated by, especially if you haven't launched a comprehensive, kind of multifaceted email, social media, direct mail campaign before, and especially if you don't have the staff to help you with that. So we would love to be able to do that, and would love to hear from you if that's something we can be a part of.
And we just want to thank you for joining us today. If you have questions, we can answer questions now. You can just type them and we'll see them, and we will do our best to answer questions that you have about year-end and year-end giving and campaigns. I know one question that we get a lot is, what do you recommend for email software with MailChimp or Constant Contact, or is there something else? That's the big one. Is there something else? So many people ask us that. If you are a part or are not a part of our closed Facebook group, it's Choose Life Marketing. You can search it out, and there's just a couple of questions to answer, and then we'll let you into our group. That is a question that is asked by a lot of centers in that group, and a lot of people give feedback on what has worked best for them. So what works best with their other like client management systems, and what works best for doing segments and things like that. So for sure, join us in that group. We would love to have you there, and it's a great place for you to share input and things that you've learned. We do record this webinar, and it will be emailed out tomorrow to those who registered for the webinar. A lot of people, I know that this might be a busy time of the morning, and so we send it out the next day, and they're able to watch it in their own convenience. So definitely we will send this out.
Yep. And then a question, maybe you can take this one, Laura. Renee says, I use Network for Good. Any tips about using the tools they have, landing pages, peer pages, e-blast templates, etc.? Have you used Network for Good?
I am familiar with it because I get their emails, but I have never, my center didn't use it, neither of mine did. So I am not super familiar with how it works or interacting with it. But yeah, I bet if you put that in our closed group, somebody can give you some tips. So feel free to do that there. Marcy, is there anything that people tend to ask you as you're creating their campaigns? Yeah. I know a lot of people want to know when I should start it, how many I should send, and how many is too many. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so most of the campaigns we run, we usually run, we'll send one email per week, but then we also do those 2 segmented follow-ups. So if somebody opens the email and they click on the link, then we don't send them a follow-up. They'll just get the email the following week. But if they don't fall in either one of those segments, then they'll get a resend and kind of a reminder. Yeah, so we recommend about 1 email per week with those follow-ups. And you want to vary the content in each one. So one week you may focus primarily on sharing a client story, and you may want your social media to correspond with that, to also share snippets of that same story, or you may have a video of that one. The next week you might talk about new projects that you're hoping to get started in the new year. So you want to vary what the emails are about to kind of touch on different passion points for your donors. But in general, we recommend about one email per week.
If you want pricing on any of our packages, feel free to email us at info@chooselifemarketing.com and we'll give you a call. Someone from my team will.
Yeah. We do have a couple new questions. So one is it too early to reach out to CLM to start working on a campaign with them? No, we would love to hear from you. Like I said, we are running some specials on our different campaign packages right now. So we would love to chat with you about your needs and your heart for your end of year campaigns and talk about partnering with you in that. And then Renee asks, any strategies to expand or add followers and email prospects to focus on growing the pool we are communicating with? Do you have ideas for that, Laura?
I was going to divert that one back to
you.
That was your other team.
Yeah. So one good way to expand that pool actually is through those social media ads we were talking about. So if you can create, and Facebook kind of walks you through the steps of creating a lookalike audience, or obviously we're happy to help with that as well. You'll be putting your message out in front of new people. So that's a good way to do it. Other ways that are a little bit more, old fashioned, tried and true are things like Laura mentioned earlier, just reaching out to some of your donors, especially high capacity, and asking them to introduce you to their friends, or if you're having any kind of open house or other events throughout the holidays, inviting people to bring their friends through the center and get a tour. Anytime you have an event like that, or you're going to an event, make sure you have an email sign-up sheet so you can add those people to your email list. But those are a couple of good ways, kind of tried and true methods of adding to your list. Okay, Anjali.
I know too at our center, I'm so sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
At our center, we saw a lot of the same people would comment or like. And so if you get to know them, it wouldn't even hurt for you to, if you're going to post something, to send them a little message and say, would you share this on your page as well? So any kind of exposure like that you can get.
Yep. Okay, Anjali asks, what are ideas for different email types? You mentioned client story, project for next year, and stats. Any other ideas? Some other ones I can think of, and Laura, feel free to jump in as well. Anything you can do to kind of give behind the scenes, people like that. This works really well in social media, but I think there are ways you can incorporate it into your emails as well, doing staff highlights, showing pictures of your center. Maybe you've just done a renovation, or you have an area that you would like to renovate and you want to show pictures of that. Just anything you can think of to bring people into the story with them. One of the things content writers and storytellers and marketers talk about is not positioning your organization or your mission or yourself as the hero of the story, but allowing your donors and supporters to be the hero. So anything you can do to bring them into that narrative of, here's all that we want to accomplish, and here's how we're partnering with women in our community to help support them. Here's how you can help us do that, and be the hero in the client story, as well as, to the clients, and then as well as helping the pregnancy center, those types of things. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Laura?
No, I think it's great. If you have a nurse manager, maybe having her share some stories, because she's right there in the ultrasound room. And people love those stories of victory coming out of the ultrasound room. If you have a center that's a couple decades old and you happen to have met, come across someone in the community that they were helped by the center, or maybe their mom chose life at the center, those are great stories to highlight, just to show the longevity of the impact of your center, and the impact of one life that's, had the opportunity to spend 2 decades on the face of this earth. So it doesn't have to be just women that chose life in the last few months. If you can highlight some of those too, I just think that's so powerful to show the impact of your center.
Another thing you can add is challenges you face, especially again if the donors are in a position to be able to speak to some of those challenges. I know some centers don't like to enter into this area as much, but maybe you live in a state that has seen significant legislative change, whether that helps your pregnancy center or hurts it a little bit. Letting people know about that helps them connect this holistic view of pro-life. I think sometimes we tend to view it as political and non-political, and really both sides impact the other. So like I said, you're not an advocacy group or anything like that, but being open about how legislative changes are impacting your center and letting your supporters know what they can do to help with that can also be an effective thing to share, especially if you're working on programs that are directly impacted by legislation or anything like that. So those are some other ideas.
Kind of piggybacking on that, one thing that we have seen a lot, we created a video last fall when big tech was going pretty crazy and silencing a lot of you, just to help donors understand how that impacts you. And all of you know that your clients live online. That's where they're getting their information. And so I know when we work with centers, sometimes we just really encourage them to point out the competition that you face online, especially with the advent of the abortion pill and how the searches for that have increased so much. Don't be afraid to talk about that and why you need to be present online so you can reach a woman first as she's looking for her abortion options or seeking access to the abortion pill. And we know that that access has been, even that has changed in protocol. And so women can get it so much easier and get it in the mail. And so those are the new challenges you face as a center, and ask donors to help you as you try to combat that. So just letting them know things that they may not be aware of that are going on in the online world. I know in certain communities, we see this a lot as we manage people's Google ads, that they're competing with justthepill.com and how much that's changing how a center reaches out to somebody. So letting your donors know that you need to be online, reaching those women, and that they can partner with you in that. That's another great topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other questions? I think we've answered all the ones in the chat box so far.
Okay, well, feel free to reach out to us. Again, there's our phone number and our email. We will get back to you right away. Any questions that you have, even outside of year-end giving, if you have questions about marketing or you want us to pull search volume reports, you want to ask about your website, anything, we are super happy to help. And it is an honor for us to partner with you in any way. So thank you, Marcy, for being with us today. And thank you to all of you for joining us. We are so grateful for the work that you do.